Tonight, Mark Carney picks former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour to be Canada's next Governor General.
I will strive to serve with honor, dedication, and integrity.
After a long, distinguished career, stepping into the role at a key moment for Canada, we have the reaction. Security ramps up for the FIFA World Cup, just weeks away.
This will be the longest-lasting non-stop operations in our police history.
Why drones are among the biggest safety concerns.
Holy
A dramatic collision between a gray whale and a sea-doo near Vancouver sparks an investigation.
I think people were going, "You idiot, slow down, there's whales in the area."
The safety concerns as whales move closer and closer to shore.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thank you for joining us. Canada's 31st Governor General will be one of this country's most celebrated legal minds. The Prime Minister announced Louise Arbour will assume the role after Mary Simon retires, which is expected to happen next month. Arbour is a former Supreme Court Justice and UN prosecutor. Now she will be King Charles's representative in this country at a moment when its strength and unity are being tested. The Prime Minister had promised to appoint someone who could speak both French and English, and on that he has delivered. Ashley Burke takes a look at Louise Arbour's long career and her message to Canadians tonight.
An appointment approved by the King. Louise Arbour, one of Canada's most high-profile jurists, selected to hold one of the country's highest offices.
I will strive to serve with honor, dedication, and integrity.
The former Supreme Court Justice will be the next Governor General.
Louise Arbour will represent the best of Canada to Canadians and to the world.
In the spirit of flexibility.
Arbour is known for her extensive legal career. She's prosecuted leaders for war crimes in Rwanda and former Yugoslavia, including Slobodan Milosevic. In the 90s, she investigated the mistreatment of female inmates in prisons in Canada, and in recent years, she led a review into the very military she will now become the commander-in-chief of.
In response to
Arbour called on the government in 2022 to strip the Canadian Armed Forces of its power to investigate and prosecute sexual assault cases.
Her work matters in and of itself. It also tells us something about what Louise Arbour will bring to Rideau Hall. The conviction that institutions are the load-bearing walls of a civil society, and that they remain trustworthy only as long as someone is willing to hold them accountable.
Arbour was asked about being a unifying figure. Some conservatives took aim at her in the past when she helped create an international cooperation agreement on global migration. They viewed it as a possible threat to Canada's sovereignty.
I will reach out to anybody who wishes to engage with me, to debate, to discuss. I will listen, and I hope in due course that I will manage to persuade those, particularly those who may doubt my integrity.
Arbour is taking this job at a time when Canada could be facing national unity challenges in both Alberta and Quebec. The Bloc Québécois leader says he respects Arbour but won't support the monarchy.
There's no possibility to create a bridge on the gap between us and the British monarchy.
Arbour is also a francophone, unlike the current Governor General, Mary Simon, who has been criticized for not being able to fluently speak French.
And so, Ashley, let's talk timing here. When will Arbour be starting in this role?
Adrian, not until next month. That's when Arbour's installation ceremony is expected to happen. At that time, she'll replace Simon, who has served in this role for almost 5 years. Arbour will be taking over her constitutional and ceremonial duties as the King's representative in Canada.
All right, thank you. That is Ashley Burke in Ottawa. The World Health Organization says it believes there has been human-to-human transmission of the rare hantavirus on board a luxury cruise ship that spent yet another day stranded off the coast of West Africa. At least 3 people have died and 4 others are sick.
Again, our assumption is that has happened, and that's why we are operating and working with the ship to make sure that anyone who is symptomatic, anyone caring for patients is wearing full personal protective equipment.
3 patients have now been medically evacuated from the ship. The plan is for it to head to the Canary Islands next, where it will be met by Spanish medical teams. A horrific murder trial in Ontario is raising questions about how, despite multiple warnings, an Indigenous boy ended up dead in the basement of a couple trying to adopt him. The 2 were found guilty today of first-degree murder in his death and for charges related to torturing his younger brother. Jamie Strachan has the emotional reaction.
We're sorry that we weren't there for them.
In 2017, 2 brothers known as LL and JL left their foster mother Heather Walsh's Ottawa home. 5 years later, LL was dead. Now the Ontario couple who planned to adopt the 2 Indigenous boys have been convicted of first-degree murder in his death. The paramedics who found LL's emaciated body in Brandy Cooney and Becky Hamber's Burlington basement had trouble believing the boy on the floor was really 12 years old.
They were loving kids, they were caring kids.
As Justice Clayton Conlon laid out in his 300-plus page decision, LL's death capped a vicious 5 years of torture and abuse. They hated the boys, they loathed them, Conlon wrote. They deeply resented them coming into their lives. The woman testified the brothers were out of control, that LL had a severe eating disorder, defending their actions, which included withholding food and zip-tying the boys into wetsuits for days at a time. Conlon found their testimony unbelievable, full of contradictions, inconsistencies, and things lacking in basic common sense. A major part of this tragic story, the numerous times people intimately involved in these 2 boys' lives raised warning signs to authorities, saying something is very wrong. This educational assistant says she was deeply impacted by the time she spent with LL before the couple took the boys out of school altogether.
I have his name tattooed to my arm. I wake up every morning and I have a coffee and I look at his picture and I talk to him.
Teacher Sarah Biasetti contacted Children's Aid 4 times.
They send me photos of them zip-tied, which I submitted to CAS, and nothing was done. It still affects me because I don't know what else I could have done to help these kids.
No agency involved in this case would speak directly about the circumstances. Neither would the provincial minister responsible for agency oversight. Not good enough, says Ontario's former child advocate.
I think we need to have an investigation into that. I think we need to have an inquest.
The only way, he says, to ensure the tragic death of this boy will not be forgotten. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Milton, Ontario.
New Statistics Canada data is showing some good news for the country's bottom line, a surprise trade surplus for the first time in 6 months. So March saw a surplus of $1.78 billion. Just a month prior, that number was a deficit of more than $5 billion. Surging oil prices and a demand for gold lifted the value of Canada's exports. Imports declined, including from the U.S., notably exports to countries other than the U.S., rose to more than $24 billion, setting a record high for a second consecutive month. Well, the U.S. president says he's pausing an operation to try to guide ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. It comes as the White House insists a ceasefire with Iran is still on, even as a key Gulf ally says it was targeted again today. Katie Nicholson has the latest from Washington.
They don't like playing games with us.
Story time in the Oval Office. The U.S. president sharing his military success in Iran with children.
We basically wiped out their military in about 2 weeks.
Except on Monday, Iran attacked U.S. vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, a response to Donald Trump's new Project Freedom, which aims to help guide ships through the strait. Not even 2 days in, Trump abruptly paused the operation, citing a request from Pakistan and the possibility a final agreement with Iran can be finalized and signed. And despite the exchange of fire between the U.S. and Iran, Trump insists the April ceasefire is still intact, but wouldn't say what might break it.
Well, you'll find out, because I'll let you know. They know what to do, and they know what to do. They know what not to do.
But missiles and drones are keeping air defenses in the UAE busy for a second day. The Ministry of Defense says they were fired from Iran Iran denies it, prompting a close Trump advisor to wonder if maybe the U.S. should do more.
They've taken the brunt of this war, so I want them to know we have their back. I'll leave that up to President Trump, but at the end of the day, Iran's not going to quit.
No, the ceasefire is not over.
In a morning briefing, Pentagon officials stressed Operation Epic Fury, the original combat operation with Iran, is still on pause, but brandished a familiar warning.
If Iran is not willing to follow through on its side of the bargain or make a deal, then the War Department is postured, locked, loaded, and ready to go.
Then things took a rather strange turn. A question about Iran potentially unleashing so-called kamikaze dolphins strapped with explosives into the strait.
It's like sharks with laser beams, right?
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have kamikaze dolphins, but I can confirm they don't.
So perhaps no dolphins, but defense was another word used a lot on Tuesday, including by the Secretary of State, who spoke of the U.S.'s defensive posture in the region, really signaling a reluctance to resume a full-scale war, and now even backing off Project Freedom.
And Katie, while all of this is going on, Iran appears to have taken steps to formalize control over the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, it's launched the Persian Gulf Strait Authority. Ships wanting to cross will get an email which sort of lays out the rules, and there's a permit process involved. Iran adding a new layer of bureaucracy in the conflict after being labeled pirates.
All right, thank you. That is Katie Nicholson tonight in Washington. In China, authorities are investigating after at least 26 people died in a blast at a fireworks factory. It happened in the province of Hunan, known as China's fireworks capital. Dozens of others were injured. There is no cause yet, and the person in charge of the company has reportedly been detained. So we are now less than 40 days away from the FIFA World Cup. Security has been top of mind for host countries, including Canada, but there are growing concerns over drones that threaten to disrupt the games. Thomas Degg shows us how Toronto police are preparing.
With eyes in the sky and across Toronto, police are showing off a new command center built in a secret location ahead of the FIFA World Cup, one of the biggest security events the city has ever seen.
This will be the longest lasting non-stop operations in our police history.
Police are promising new cameras set up to cover the massive fan festival site now under construction. Plus drones deployed to watch for trouble, including potentially from other unauthorized aircraft.
We have a very robust approach to that with our partners to make sure that we can mitigate any threats from drone technology.
Paused here temporarily.
A drone flying over this English Premier League match interrupted the game for 20 minutes as officials struggled to make it buzz off.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Well, obviously not in my day, but...
Now in Europe, police get training on shoulder-mounted drone interception systems. While in North America, across 16 World Cup host cities, authorities are keeping many security measures private.
Thank you all for being here.
At a U.S. Senate hearing, the FBI's point man had this warning.
One of the most significant safety concerns surrounding the World Cup is the threat posed by unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS.
Vancouver officials are set to lay out some security plans on Wednesday. While in neighboring Washington state, law enforcement is highlighting one high-tech tool they'll use to counter any threat from above.
These drones that you can buy off the shelf or buy can carry things. And we have to think about what is the worst case scenario.
The Canadian government recently announced $145 million earmarked for World Cup security here and in Vancouver. That's more than $10 million per match. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Another fire has started at the same Toronto apartment complex where 6 months ago a fire burned in the walls for weeks.
The fire was caused by workers in the building doing remedial work and repair work and restoration work from the original fire.
So sparks from a saw set particle board on fire. It is the same material that burned for over 2 weeks last year. It's difficult to access since it is encased between concrete that connects the buildings. There's no timeline for when this fire will be put out, but the chief says residents can stay in their homes this time. Well, summer-like heat is beating down across BC, smashing temperature records. And as John Hernandez reports, with it come serious concerns about low water levels and a higher risk of wildfires.
In the car.
Ken Bradshaw hikes the peaks at Cypress Mountain all the time, but he's never seen it this bare and brown in early May.
There's hardly any snow left near the top. I didn't even have to wear micro spikes today. We could just walk in hiking boots, and that's unusual for this time of year.
The snowpack in Metro Vancouver is the lowest it's been in a decade, and the record-breaking spring heat means it's melting fast.
We're at about 45% of our normal snowpack for this time of year, so would be more than double this is what we would like to see.
The low snowpack is already causing concerns when it comes to the region's water supply. Metro Vancouver has banned lawn watering to preserve shrinking reservoirs, and a hot summer in the forecast means more restrictions are coming in June.
Almost a full ban on outdoor water use, so it gets quite a bit stricter. So we won't want to see people washing their cars.
At least 24 temperature records were broken across the province over the last few days, with several communities hitting above 30 degrees Celsius. Record heat and little rain means heightened wildfire risk. There are more than 24 active fires burning across BC.
With these unseasonably hot temperatures, we're seeing that dryness kind of deeper in the ground. So that does certainly make things more challenging.
Different people will feel heat differently, and some people are more vulnerable to extreme heat than others. In terms of
this heat researcher says high spring temperatures could be a precursor to an exceptionally hot summer, and is warning people to think about their safety. In 2021, more than 600 British Columbians died during a heat dome.
Where does it look like for me to cool down? Where might I be able to go stay if I have to be somewhere for a few days?
Spring temperatures that Vancouver hasn't seen in more than 100 years. And the season is just getting started. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
And still in BC, an investigation is underway in Vancouver tonight after a sea-doo hit a gray whale at high speed. Caroline Bargout shows us the dramatic collision caught on camera that's sparking outrage and concern.
As boaters and spectators gathered for a glimpse of a gray whale off Vancouver's seawall, a man on a sea-doo speeds across the water.
Oh my God!
As the whale came up for air, they collided, sending the man flying. Richard Savage watched it happen.
I mean, I was devastated. I felt, terrible for the whale. Of course, terrible for the person who was injured, but just, like, how is this happening? Like, it seemed, even the odds of the whale being hit seemed impossible.
The man was taken to hospital in serious but stable condition. Whether the whale is injured is unknown. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans says it's still investigating. It's not clear if the man intentionally hit the whale or if he even saw it before the collision. Still, there's frustration.
Even before it happened, I think people were going, "You idiot, slow down, there's whales in the area."
It's not common to see whales so close to the shoreline around Vancouver.
Whoa.
But recently, orca and gray whale sightings have led to crowds of onlookers. DFO says it received a number of calls about people getting too close.
It's illegal to disturb marine mammals. That includes approaching, swimming, or interacting with them. People in watercraft must stay 100 meters away from whales, dolphins, and porpoises, and even further from orcas in BC or any whale with calves.
The penalty could be a fine up to $100,000 for a first offense. Gray whales in the Pacific have been struggling to find food. That's likely why the whale was closer to land, says this expert.
The very fact that they're ending up, some of them in places where they don't normally feed, suggests and supports that they might need to feed on the way back up to the Arctic feeding grounds.
She says this incident should serve as a reminder for people to slow down on the waterways. A day later, a whale was spotted in the same location, swimming. Hopefully a good sign. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Vancouver.
Rallies and vigils were held across the country for Red Dress Day. It is a national day of awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Red dresses are hung in public to represent the missing. Demonstrators in Ottawa called for more to be done, including implementing a national alert system. Well, new rules have been introduced in the Manitoba legislature in response to hateful insults hurled during question period.
I would ask members to consider if they want this to be their legacy.
Banned words, new penalties, the behavior prompting the Speaker to act. Are allergies hitting you hard? You are not alone.
It's ramping up, so it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's bad.
Why pollen levels have been skyrocketing right across Canada. And taking Lego to the next level. We're back in 2. Delta Airlines is cutting in-flight food and beverage service on short-distance flights. The change affects more than 400 flights on routes less than 560 kilometers. But the airline says its premium class flyers will still be served. In April, Delta also raised its checked baggage fees. Well, Manitoba's House Speaker is cracking down on what he says is deteriorating decorum in the provincial legislature. Members aiming hurtful, insensitive, and disrespectful comments at each other. Karen Pauls with the rules now being put in place.
It's been a raucous session in the Manitoba legislature.
Does the Premier hate taxi drivers? Does he hate Punjabis?
Member's time has expired.
The only thing the member opposite has to offer is his claim to have played football for...
Order, please.
The Speaker has run out of patience, bringing in new rules on heckling and banning certain words from the chamber.
And I would ask members to consider if they want this to be their legacy.
Last month, Progressive Conservative MLA Wayne Awatsko heckled Premier Wab Kinew.
When we cut the gas tax, he said it was bad.
Quit drinking, Wab.
The NDP said that promoted a negative stereotype of Indigenous people.
They're rearing their anti-Indigenous racism.
Iwasko refused to make an unqualified apology on Monday and was ejected from question period. The PC opposition leader has also been reprimanded for telling the health minister, Manitoba's first Black, queer, gender non-conforming MLA, quote, "You are terrible. You are an awful human being, whatever you are."
That was not only disgusting, dehumanizing, and derogatory, and transphobic, it was in fact dangerous.
So, new rules. If MLAs get warned 4 times for heckling, they won't be able to speak in the session. And the list of banned, unparliamentary words just got longer.
Bigot, homophobe, misogynist, racist, transphobe.
And that this language is always hurled from the government to our side. We're not the ones using these 5 words against them.
Well, when something's racist, you got to call it out.
But will this move address the concerns about decorum?
I think we have to have a deep cultural change, and that's not easy to bring about. Every time this happens, it reinforces norms of behavior that are not inspiring, they're depressing.
He says that change has to start at the top with party leaders. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some experts are suggesting stronger forms of treatment to deal with worsening allergy seasons.
It helps with quality of life. It also helps with sleep and work.
What you can do to help tame your symptoms. Parts of Saskatchewan are underwater as some point to flaws in mapping high-risk areas.
We're not giving people the basic information they need to protect themselves in the first place.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. Pretty relatable question here. Do your allergies seem to be getting worse? You are not imagining it. Pollen season is getting longer and more intense. Jennifer Lagrassa explains why and has which Canadian cities are considered hotspots.
A nice spring day for some is a nightmare in disguise for others.
It's just constant congestion, snotty nose, sneezing.
It's ramping up, so it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's bad.
And according to a recent report, it really is that bad in Windsor, Ontario. The city topped the list of most challenging places to live with pollen allergies in Canada.
If you combine the trees, grasses, and weed season, you have a lot of pollen in your region.
Hamilton and Barrie, Ontario landed second and third worst, with Victoria, BC in fourth. Warmer temperatures, thanks to climate change, have roughly doubled the amount of pollen across Canada in the last 20 years.
It's only going to get worse.
With pollen season already starting earlier and ending later.
I'm finding the season horrible.
For some, that means seasonal allergies can feel never-ending.
It used to be a short period of a few months when my symptoms were at their worst, but now it's most of the year.
More intense pollen seasons means symptoms like itchy eyes or congestion could feel worse. If over-the-counter drugs are no longer cutting it, there's other ways to ease the suffering.
We want people to enjoy the summer. We start with a low dose.
Experts recommend seeing an allergist who might prescribe immunotherapy. That's multiple injections or under-the-tongue tablets that expose you to the allergen and help the immune system become less sensitive, easing symptoms over time.
It helps with the overall condition, so it helps with quality of life. It also helps with sleep and work and overall well-being.
If you have seasonal allergies on high pollen days, you might want to keep your windows closed and hang your laundry inside. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor, Ontario.
In the breakdown tonight, Japan gets aggressive on the sale of arms, and Canadians pay the cost of poor flood mapping. As spring flooding wreaks havoc, a government watchdog says Canada is lagging when it comes to mapping key areas.
And much of the existing mapping information is not practical or usable.
Why some homeowners worry new mapping could actually be unfair to them. But first,
it could be seen as Japan, entering a new era.
After decades assuming an entirely defensive arms posture, Japan is reversing a self-imposed ban on the international sale of lethal weapons.
To go straight to these frigates is actually a very big deal.
Andrew Chang, host of About That, looks at what is behind this dramatic policy about face and who its customers may include.
Japan is a pacifist country preparing for war.
For the first time, Japan has a woman at the helm. Sanai Takaichi is now Japan's Iron Lady.
She said a Chinese attack on Taiwan could threaten Japanese survival and potentially trigger a military response from Tokyo.
Japan has just opened the door to selling lethal weapons on the global market for the first time since the Second World War.
That last bit, a plan to increase lethal weapons exports to more than a dozen countries around the world, is just the latest evidence we've seen of Japan trying to become a more capable, more self-sufficient fighting force. For example, Japan is right now taking part in war games with the US for the first time ever as a combatant, using a cruise missile to sink a minesweeper. Japan was recently accused by China of provoking it by sailing a warship through the highly contentious waters around Taiwan. And Japan just hosted formal talks with some 30 members of NATO in Tokyo, where one of the primary goals was figuring out how to partner entire defense industries with each other, working together to make weapons of war. That means the same company that makes Toshiba televisions and rice cookers, making autonomous hunting drones. The makers of the Mitsubishi Mirage, also making Mogami-class warships. Fujitsu, they make dot matrix printers, also a specialist in digital defense. Let me show you how Japan is reimagining its role in a world at war. The most recent political decision that brings Japan one step closer to building a more formidable military is the announcement that it wants to sell what it makes to the world. Until now, it's been illegal under Japan's own laws to do this because, until now, only these 5 categories of defense exports were effectively allowed to leave the country: search and rescue, transport, warning systems, surveillance, and minesweeping. But the Prime Minister has just announced, with an amendment to the rules, transfers of all defense equipment will, in principle, become possible. So, Japanese-made fighter jets, submarines, missiles, destroyers, they're all fair game, not just to make, but to sell and make money. Japan has even already pinpointed more than a dozen potential buyers, the countries it already has defense partnerships with, including the US, the major European military powers, and a whole slate of countries in the maritime heart of Asia, in China's shadow.
Partners around the world are realizing that this project to cooperate more in the production of defense articles is economically efficient and strategically indispensable.
By helping other countries with acquiring types of weapons, it's hoping that this could help provide deterrence against threats like China. And so in that regards, it does provide Japan a greater presence in the arms market that it has not had until now.
This is a major shift for a country whose pacifism is deeply embedded, made part of its constitutional DNA after the Second World War, where it actively moved away from maintaining war potential at all. Not a conventional one to be deployed, but rather strictly a self-defense force. That may soon change, and the country's prime minister, Sanae Takaichi, is the one many believe will make it happen.
And Sanae Takaichi has won Japan's snap election in what's being called a landslide.
She also wants to boost defence spending and build a military strong enough to deter Chinese threats to its islands.
One of the more serious and permanent changes Takaichi could make to the country would be to rewrite its constitution, specifically Article 9, which states the Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of the nation and the threat or use of force as means of settling international disputes. We don't know how far she might go in changing that particular clause, but it's worth remembering this is all part of a longer trajectory that predates Takaichi. Just over 10 years ago, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe began dismantling what was a blanket ban on military sales. Fast forward about 9 years, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida would approve a change to allow Japanese manufacturers to sell deadly weapons, as long as they were selling a country's own weapons back to it under license, like Japan agreeing to sell to the US American-designed Patriot missiles, but built in Japan. The result of all of this, up to and including the most recent change to sell even more complex weapon systems abroad, is to gradually transform Japan, not just into a weapons dealer, but a weapons maker.
By producing equipment for overseas exports, it's hoping that it could prop up some of these smaller subcontractors and try to revitalize the defense industrial base in Japan.
It's funny to think that around the same time Mitsubishi was manufacturing cars like the Starion in the 1980s, it was also building on its factory floors a line of F-15 fighter jets. Or while Kawasaki was building ninja sport bikes and jet skis, which is where the generic term jet ski comes from, by the way. It was also building turboprop anti-submarine and surveillance aircraft like the P-3C Orion. But what these companies have lacked for decades was the incentive to scale, because the ban on selling outside of Japan meant they had very few customers.
There's a reason why Japan's defense market was small and defense industrial base is small, because it had only one customer, which is Japan's self-defense force.
For most of the last half century, these companies' only customer, the Japanese government, its total defense spending has been a fraction of a percent of the overall Japanese economy. It actually had a 1% cap on defense spending, in line with its official position of pacifism. And there was this weird chicken and egg thing happening, where having very few people to sell to meant companies relied very little on making weapons for their overall revenue, which led to a real lack of investment, R&D, scale, which meant lack of growth, higher costs, serving a very niche defense market, which is a fancy way of saying they didn't have many customers. And this self-reinforcing spiral just keeps going round and round.
You only have a very small sliver that comes from defense sales. And so because of that, you've had this reliance on just the one customer, self-defense forces. And because of the higher costs and the limited number of orders, a lot of these smaller subcontractors that were relied on for just producing one or two components for a larger platform, they have gone out of business. They've left the market because it's just not profitable for them. There is a concern among some within the defense industries that if they push more towards weapons, that it could have negative implications on their non-defense sales. And that's where this merchant of death moniker comes up, where they're afraid that the public will look at them as peddling in death.
But Japan has gradually been trying to turn this mentality around. In 2024, look how small a piece of the global arms pie Japan represented, just 2% compared to bigger players like Russia, the UK, China, and the US. But consider another way of looking at those same countries. These bars chart growth. Japan's top 5 defense industry players in 2024 registering a staggering 40% growth over the previous year, totaling revenues just over $13 billion US, driven primarily by strong domestic demand amid Japan's ongoing military buildup program. Today, Japan produces locally all of the country's warships and submarines, even if they're often fitted with American parts and systems. But production is more and more in-house, culminating now in the biggest business deal in modern Japanese defense history. A deal worth $7 billion to provide Australia with 3 Mogami-class frigates, designed especially for ship-to-ship combat, made in Japan.
The fact that Japan got this deal with Australia for frigates, both selling them some and then jointly producing them, it is a very big deal because I think most people were looking at Japan's entrance into the defense export market to start small. To go straight to these frigates is actually a very big deal.
The most recent estimates I've seen are that Japan's Mitsubishi Heavy Industries is now just outside the top 30 weapons manufacturers in the world by revenue. And according to its most recent annual report, its integrated defense and space division accounts for more than 800 billion yen's worth of business, around 5 billion USD, making everything from planes to ships, missiles, torpedoes, even tanks.
Lifting the, lethal weapons export ban, right, it certainly could be seen as Japan, entering a new era, and I think sort of formalizing many of the developments and policy shifts that it's been doing more incrementally over the last several years.
Now, the position of the Takaichi government is that this shift is as necessary as it is inevitable, that the world has changed an awful lot in the last 80 years, and maybe especially since Trump first took office almost 10 years ago now. But the multi-billion-dollar question we'll be asking for years to come: does Japan's shift to a stronger war footing make Japan safer, or does it just add to all of the ways in which the world has simply become more dangerous?
The first of those 3 Japanese-built warships Andrew mentioned is scheduled for delivery to Australia in 2029. The countries signed off on the multi-billion-dollar deal in April. Well, let's turn now to nuclear weapons capabilities, specifically Iran's. Donald Trump says it's one reason for the current war. Eli Glasner is looking into how close the threat really is. So here's an excerpt of a story he's working on for the days to come.
Going back to June of 2025, if Iran had made the decision to jump from 60 to 90%, it could have enriched enough material for 1 bomb in a matter of days, and enough for, up to 9 or 10 bombs, within 3 to 4 weeks.
But there's having enriched uranium, and then there's making the missile.
There's a whole series of additional steps that Iran would have to do to actually assemble a device. It includes working with conventional high explosives and other materials to actually package it all together into a bomb. And there's additional work Iran would have to do if it wanted to shrink that device down further and integrate it with a missile that's able to sort of survive launch and re-entry.
Does Iran have the technology? Do they have the wherewithal to make such a device?
Yeah, I think that timeline could range from, weeks to months, depending on exactly how Iran went about it. And I think the fact of the matter is they do fundamentally have that expertise and baseline level of technology. It may take them some additional time to reconstitute facilities that were destroyed, to import or otherwise design additional manufacturing equipment. It may take them some time to train up new scientists, because a number of scientists who had that expertise were killed, but they have the ability to eventually get there if they want to.
You can watch Eli's full report on Wednesday right here on The National. Well, coming up, the rising cost of spring flooding and how Canada is lagging on a possible solution.
It's a clear signal that Canada's flood risk system isn't working for Canadians.
The government called out for its flood mapping plans, even as some homeowners resist them. Next. Many Canadians are battling yet another spring flood, overflowing in costs and frustration. But while the government is behind a promise to map at-risk areas, not everyone sees that mapping as the fix.
I think people are more scared of the flood maps than the flood.
International climate correspondent Susan Ormison tracks the calls on the government to do more and the reason for some homeowner opposition.
A rapid melt after a huge snowpack is submerging parts of Saskatchewan.
Roads have been flooded out, basements filled up, roads being cut.
It was up over top of the second step.
Damage costs are mounting.
Everything's probably wrecked, but I've talked to my insurance companies and stuff.
Adding to a wet and watery spring in Ontario and Quebec, a pattern of flooding in Canada more frequent and more extreme. But in spite of government promises, we've failed to accurately map flood risk areas.
Many maps remain incomplete, and much of the existing mapping information is not practical or usable.
A government watchdog called out Natural Resources Canada and the Departments of Environment and Climate Change and Public Safety, noting that mapping targets have been missed and money allocated not even spent.
It's a clear signal that Canada's flood risk system isn't working for Canadians. We're spending hundreds of millions recovering from floods, but we're not giving people the basic information they need to protect themselves in the first place.
Cleanup costs are sharply rising. These bars show a trend nearing $2 billion in government spending on flood assistance every 5 years, climbing as fast as the floodwaters.
$1 invested today in flood mapping or in climate resilient infrastructure will save multiple dollars in the future.
A new flood risk finder tool, where you plug in your postal code, went up 10 days ago, but it's not working. Knowing what areas are flood prone seems like a good plan, but it is controversial.
I think people are more scared of the flood maps than the flood.
This was Pierre-Luc Cochon's spring in Île-Mercier, Quebec. Water knocked out the only bridge to the island. But Cochon is fighting new flood zones mapped by the province.
The zone extended to a very large zone, and people that were not near the water at any event recently were included in those zones. And that's very scary for the population because the impact with the bank, the insurer.
Fearing rising insurance rates and falling house values, several provinces have backed off updating mapping after homeowners objected.
When you provide a flood map, you need to provide tools to protect people.
But with flooding, Canada's most common and most expensive disaster, mapping is critical.
Countries all around the world have adequate flood mapping and disclosure systems like the one that the federal government has committed to. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here.
Just press on, he says, with an easy-to-access, comprehensive mapping system to mitigate the coming watery risks.
According to the Insurance Bureau of Canada, in 2025, insured losses from severe weather exceeded $2.4 billion. Well, coming up, 4 Nova Scotia students score a win at a major robotics competition.
Not many people get to go to a world event, let alone win an award.
You got that right. Their project, next in our moment. These are 4 students from Nova Scotia jumping for joy after winning an innovation award at an international robotics competition in Houston, Texas. So they were competing against 160 teams from around the world. The task, create 2 separate robots. How they came out on top makes our moment.
First Lego League is a robotics competition. We won our innovation project. I was really happy. We worked on it for over 4 months.
You don't have to pull it up, just slide it, let it float.
We built a sphere that goes into the ocean and sits at the bottom, and then it waits for the sediment to settle. It takes 360-degree footage of the archaeological site. And then later, we pull the weight up with a string. We also had to build a Lego robot, and we make attachments for it, and it does all the missions. We had to clear a shipwreck, and we had to clear the sand off the shipwreck, and we had to push a lever to release some boulders. I was quite excited. I knew how much work we had put into it. Not many people get to go to a world event, let alone win an award. I was really proud of everyone that we could make this possible.
No kidding. And we really hope that when they got back to their respective schools, there were huge assemblies congratulating them. From all of us at the National, thanks for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault, and tonight we're going to leave you with a little proof. Support for the Montreal Canadiens is alive and well outside of Quebec. Horseshoe Falls and Niagara lit up in the Habs colors ahead of their second-round series against the Buffalo Sabres. So to the Habs, good luck. And to all of you, take care.